नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल, a very warm welcome. एक बार फिर आपका स्वागत है on this platform as well as the Varun Kapoor show. Her Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, we come live on this platform to talk about the things that we all don't know और जो चीजें जो हम जानना चाहते हैं on this date with advocate एक initiative जो हमने शुरू किया है on VStand4Justice. Tonight मेरी night है, आप लोगों की morning है, so today it's gonna be another special one because we have a special guest from US, somebody who himself is an advocate or an attorney, as we call them here. Uh, Somebody who has also been very vocal about certain topics, and I'm really glad I had a brief chat before this live और उनसे बात करके I could sense that he, just like Abhigya, who always joins us, and he's also joining anyways, but he's also one of the solution givers, and he will speak about के इंडियन जुडिशियल सिस्टम में जो इश्यूज हैं, इंडियन जुडिशियल सिस्टम में जो जिस वजह से आप लोग, एक बहुत कॉमन क्वेश्चन है जो आपने अभिज्ञा को बहुत बार पूछा है. आई थिंक अभिज्ञा टुडे वुड बी वेरी हैप्पी because he will be more on a back seat and he will also love to hear the second guest. But you've asked him multiple times कि इतना जस्टिस डिले क्यों होता है, इतना टाइम क्यों लगता है, हमारे सिस्टम में ऐसे क्या फ्लॉज हैं, व्हाट आर द थिंग्स दैट वी कैन डू to change this. This has been one thing which has been on top of all of your mind. So let's get started. We have 1 hour. I really want to make use of this 1 hour very 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 productively. वैसे तो मैं बहुत बदनाम हूँ इस चीज के लिए कि 1 घंटे से ऊपर निकलता हूँ, but I'm gonna try and stick to 1 hour. But if you have more questions, we will open the stream so that you also can ask your direct questions. So let's get started. Let me just add him first. I don't see Abhigya, so Abhigya, if you're watching, please join. But welcome, Navneet, and thank you for joining us on Date with Advocate.
Thank you, Varun. You're doing a great job educating the public, and that's just wonderful.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you so much. And I've been very fortunate enough. And just a little background before we get into this. When Abhigya connected with us, he also connected us with the Indian Lawyers Association, and I did not personally knew about Indian Lawyers Association, and for a reason which I think even Navneet would love to talk about. But there are no such kind of organizations in, like I could have a doctor become a part of some groups, and they are part of some legal groups as well as some medical groups and some. But for a legal team, I think there is definitely very few in India, especially in India. So when they connected with me, they said, we have so many well-educated, well-trained, and practicing lawyers and attorneys around the world who would love to share their insights and views. And I thought, this will be a great opportunity for each one of us, including myself, because हम लोग जब एक lawyer या एक attorney या एक police, इनके बारे में बात करते हैं, सिर्फ डर और सिर्फ एक घबराहट ही हमें आती है. But that's not the case. I think in this day and age, it is very, very important that we speak about them. We speak to them about our issues. You never know, वो issue कब कहाँ कैसे हमारे लिए एक life changing एक activity बन के आ सकती है हमारे सामने. So I really feel very, very blessed to be able to associate myself and connect with Indian Lawyers Association. And Navneet, I think, happens to be a very key player there. So, Navneet, why don't you justify and do a better introduction of yourself? Who you are, where you are, and then we'll get into the details.
Yeah, sure. Both my parents were born in Pakistan, and 47 moved to India, and Dad got a job in Delhi, so he moved from Ludhiana to Delhi, and then the job moved to Nagpur. Nehru decided in 1956 that Delhi is getting crowded. Can you imagine what he would be thinking now? And they moved government offices throughout India, partly to so that the central government is functioning through various cities in India. So Dad ki job got moved to Nagpur, and so I was born and raised there, lived there 20 years, did one BCom degree from GS College there, came here, did MBA CPA law, and started legal practice 35 years ago. Um, Basically, I moved from city of Oranges in Nagpur to city of Orange in Orange County, California. So oranges have been around me all my life.
Right.
Um,
And yeah, so so you mentioned you are a CPA, you are a lawyer as well. How are you kind of balancing that? Let's start with that. Because we have both of these fields, both of these domains have so much different kind of laws, regulations, guidelines. How do you keep that balance?
so the balance is that's a good question, and so I feel like a client is a client, and a file is a file, and a problem is a problem. Um, and then I tell my lawyers working at the firm that 90% of legal problems have money in them. And so you better get good with accounting and don't tell me you're not good with math, because every legal problem has money and accounting. So we now have 14 offices, seven in the US, seven in India, about 600 employees. And what happened is when I finished my law school and became a lawyer in California, in Los Angeles, where I lived, there were 50 Indian lawyers. And I had never worked at a law firm. And so I said, you know, कैसे पता लगेगा कि क्या करना है, और um, how do I go to court, and I should have some mentors. So there was nothing. So there were 50 Indian lawyers. I called all of them home for dinner. Us jamane mein, this is 93, there was no internet. So just दोस्तों से पता करके चिट्ठी लिख के invited them home, and 17 came, and we formed Indian Lawyers Association in 1993 in Los Angeles. And then we slowly grew with a friend of mine. I started San Francisco lawyers, Indian lawyers. Then took a break for a few years, and then started a national organization of Indian lawyers. By then, people started saying that, hey, itni dur baithe hain India or Pakistan se, so at least America, maybe we should be friends. So we said, okay, we'll change the name to South Asian Bar Association. So we merged with the Pakistani Lawyers Association in Chicago. And then slowly we moved on a journey to create a SABA, South Asian Bar Association chapter in every big city in United States and Canada, and a national organization called South Asian Bar Association of North America. We do an annual event attended by about 1,000 South Asian lawyers every year in June. This year we didn't do it thanks to Uncle COVID. And then all 27 chapters run on their own, have their own presidents, their own website, their own board, do their own events. So this was the background. And then 4 years ago, December 2017, so 3 years ago, I was in Ahmedabad office and I was speaking to my two partners there. And we had a free Saturday. So we were thinking, kya karna hai? So I said, let's go attend some event. Is there this happening, that happening? Nothing's happening. I said, what about a lawyers event? Isn't there a lawyers association event happening? And they laughed at me. Like, what lawyers association? This is not America. I said, what do you mean? There is no lawyers association. So I Google, find nothing. And it really disturbed me that there's 1.3 million lawyers in India and we don't have an industry body. And I thought these guys were joking with me, but I found out there isn't any. Then I headed to the airport the next day to Delhi and then to Chandigarh. And I kept Googling Delhi Indian Lawyers Association, nothing. Chandigarh Indian Lawyers Association, nothing. So I said, this is silly. We have to start one. So I reached Chandigarh and I found a young guy, Paras, who runs Code Blend IT company. And I said, hey, मेरे को एक Indian Lawyers Association की website बना दो. And I didn't want to call it the Indian Bar Association because of the Bar Council of India and all confusion. So we did Indian Lawyers Association. I told him I need it in a week. And the old South Asian Bar Association paperwork I had from 1993 in Los Angeles, I gave him that paperwork. And he made a website for me in 1 week. And we launched Indian Lawyers Association on January 18th, 2018. And I said, why we stop at Chandigarh or Delhi or Ahmedabad? Let's do it in the top 100 cities in India. because there's Indian lawyers everywhere. So we launched and we're doing really well. Then I found a list of 400 cities in India that have a population of over 8 lakh, over 100,000. So that's our goal now, to have a ILA chapter in every city of the top 400. Actually, the smaller cities need the ILA chapter more than the bigger ones. So we've done about 100 now and 300 more to go. And we will not stop till we have 400 chapters.
Great, great, great. And I think that was a good initiative. I would say, because um, just like other organizations and just like other groups, this was definitely something that was the need of the hour. I'll also invite Vigya. I see him back here, so let me first get him back. Hello, Vigya.
Hi, Varun. Hi, Nazib ji.
Hello, Big.
All right. तो अभी अभिज्ञ से शुरू करते हैं. Normally मैं ऐसे, the way I start my show is, I definitely ask him, and I'm going to ask you the same question to you in a minute. But so Abhigya, last time we had a good session. People always ask very interesting and very good questions. But for tonight's show as well, or today morning, आपके हिसाब से, what's one thing on top of your mind? What do you want to say about that?
Uh, my master says that if you think positive and spread positivity, the world will get positive. So let's get positive and spread positivity and let the world become more positive and better world, better place to live.
Absolutely. I, I I agree. I think there's a lot of things going on around us. मैं अभी अभी सुन रहा था, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले एक कोविड से रिलेटेड अपडेट आया है. स्टार्टिंग संडे द शेल्टर इन प्लेस इज टेकिंग टू अ नेक्स्ट लेवल. और यहाँ पर द आउटडोर डाइनिंग इज नाउ completely closing starting Sunday. And people are really getting frustrated for sure. And on the other side, there are people who are losing jobs. They are on the streets, and so much going on. So absolutely, positivity is and hope, these things are really required. All right, so let's get started. Tonight, there are a couple of questions, there are a couple of items that have been asked to Vigya, and I think it is always good to have a fresher perspective. And that's what Vigya मैं कह भी रहा था कि आज आप थोड़ा smiling face रखेंगे, because now tonight you will be enjoying the answers and questions. जो I would encourage Navneet also to answer, because बहुत सारे ऐसे questions होते हैं where you end up giving the same answers, but from a legal perspective, I think those are the only answers. वही answers हो सकते हैं. So I think it would be good to have a fresher perspective as well. And I'm really grateful for to the ILA for connecting me, and and then to you for connecting me to ILA at the first place. But Navneet, let's start with this first and the basic question. हमारी country में, हमारे India में, people always say and कि कोई भी केस अगर चला जाता है या केस शुरू होता है, why does it take so long? What is wrong?
Right. Well, I think it's a very complicated question. It's a complicated country. दुनिया में से 6 लोगों में से एक बंदा इंडिया में रहता है, 1/6 of the world. And छोटी भी country हो, there's a lot of problems. So obviously, इतनी बड़ी country है with 1.3 billion people, obviously needs lot of systems of discipline, strict discipline. It's after all the courts, and awareness of the general public. Everybody says that everybody deserves the government they get. So, which is kind of a slap on our Indians' faces कि हमारे को इतनी अच्छी country क्यों नहीं मिल रही है, right? So somebody says, well, are the Indians participating? Are the Indians making noise? अगर हम चिल्लाएंगे नहीं और injustice हो रही है, courts में delay हो रहा है, अगर हम कुछ बोलेंगे नहीं, तो फिर हमारे साथ यही होगा. So if you look at every step of the way, there is a problem. I'm told there's 1.3 million lawyers in India. I went to Times of India to read a story about fake lawyers in India. Somebody told me there's a lot of fake lawyers in India. And I'm thinking, how can there be fake lawyers? Lawyers are supposed to govern the country, they're supposed to run the country, they're supposed to watch over the country, they're supposed to help the poor. Any injustice happening in the country, lawyers have to be involved. अमेरिका के आज तक 45 presidents रहे हैं. 25 of them were lawyers, right? And when you get a person who's a president who's not a lawyer, then you get a president like President Trump, right? This is what happens. Before that, President Clinton, a lawyer, President Obama, a lawyer, Abraham Lincoln, a lawyer. And so I was curious, ki, how can there be fake law degrees lawyers? Where is the judicial system? Who's monitoring the lawyers? Where is the police? One of the things I feel some countries don't do properly is they set up a police department, but they forget to set up a department to police the police. Unless you do that, you can't have a democracy. Then you're better off with a dictatorship, because 10 में से एक dictator तो अच्छा निकलेगा, and then the country will do well. So I read in Times of India, and it says 45% of India's 1.3 million lawyers have a fake law degree. That's 6 lakh, 600,000 out of 1.3 million. And the article said, abhi checking chal rahi hai, we expect that the number will go up to 50%.
Wow.
Okay. So if 50% of the lawyers have fake law degrees, then these lawyers don't want to say anything. Agar aapki fake law degree hai, to then chup karke you will just go charge your clients whatever money you can and quietly live your life. You're not going to make noise. So then I found out that there are fake judges in India. There are judges in India with fake law degrees, right? So then you find out that lawyers cannot advertise in India, which means if lawyers were able to advertise in India, then the 600,000 fake lawyers wouldn't be advertising, because वो तो पत्थर के नीचे अपनी जिंदगी जी रहे हैं छुप के. They won't advertise. Then you find out that lawyers in India cannot do matters on a contingency basis. And if you ask me, Varun, why is America today America, and why is it कि दुनिया के सिर्फ 5% लोग यहाँ रहते हैं? 5% of the world lives in America, but America has 25% of the world's wealth. If you dig deeper and deeper and deeper as to why, at the end, the most important reason would be the justice system, the legal system, the policing, and the lawyers, and the courts, and the judges.
Right.
And uh, if if India is not going to allow lawyers to work on a contingency basis, then we might as well put a sign outside India that says in screaming big letters with lights flashing that there is no justice for the poor in India. Period.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point, right, अभी recently एक article आया था, whereas a retired, I think if I'm not wrong, it was somewhere in Tamil Nadu or somewhere, a retired judge um, came out that he was now more on वो जो कहते हैं ना retirement funds जो मिलते हैं, whatever that is called, and now they found out that he was a fake judge. For about 30-35 years he's been doing what he's been doing, and he's had some judgments, and he's kind of given punishments as well, but now all of a sudden his everything has become fake. So of course that's the truth. I mean, that's irony, but that's the truth. I mean, and now people are finding that out. I would love Abhigya's perspective as well. Abhigya, आप तो बिल्कुल कंट्री के हार्ट में बैठे हैं, जहां पर I think most of the most volatile and most sensitive cases भी आते हैं. What's your take? Navneet के जो point था, what do you have to say around that? Abhigya?
First of
Are you
all,
here?
Varun, first of all, I am very sorry that there is some net problem here, so I have not been very clear on what Navneet has said. But I have been listening to him in bits and pieces.
Right. I
Uh,
can see that there is definitely a network lag. तो आज लग रहा है.
So Varun, there are,
so,
we are back to your question of why is there a delay in the Indian judicial
that
system?
is
So
a
if you look at every step of the way, there are
first
problems with courts, there's
that
problems with judges, there's a problem with
is
judiciary system,
a bit
there is a problem with the
little
government,
bit
there is a problem with
uh,
how we're filling judges.
One second.
today
Sorry,
with at my end.
Abhigya, we really cannot hear you.
Anyways, but
Maybe you should
whatever
disconnect
limited
and
things I
come
have
back.
heard, I will just update on that. Yeah, yes.
Abhigya, why don't you disconnect and come back again? There is definitely a very bad lag, और आपका हमें आवाज भी clear नहीं आ रही. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, go ahead, Naveen.
Yeah, so Varun, if you touch any part of the Indian legal system and we have problems, um, I don't think there is many other countries in the planet where the entire court system is shut down in the month of August and everybody goes on leave. There is no reason for that to be happening. Judges can go on leaves throughout the year, staggered. We can't shut down a court system. If India has 30 million pending cases, somebody wrote an article that it will take 466 years to clear the backlog. Every day, new cases get filed. Every day, three cases get resolved. 25% of the cases of the 30 million pending cases are criminal matters. And a majority of these criminals have already served more time in jail than they would have had they pled guilty on day one because they're waiting for trial dates, right? The biggest problem with the Indian criminal system is that there is no plea bargaining. Now, 99% of all criminal matters in a majority of the countries, civilized countries, let's talk about the top 25, the top 10, the top 50 countries in the planet. There are 211 countries in the planet. And the first thing India and Indians need to make sure is that do we want to be last? Do we want to be in the last 25%? Do we want to be in the last 50? Do we want to be in the top 25? Where do we want to be? And I submit that we should be in the top 10 countries of the planet because 1 out of 6 people live in India. We cannot subject 1/6 of humanity to a system that's not in top 10 because then you're becoming a very unfair country. Now, 30 million pending cases, there is a million things we can do to cut that number down. Now, other of the top 10 countries, 99% of criminal matters get resolved with plea bargaining. And plea bargaining, the district attorney, the prosecuting attorney makes a deal with the lawyer, with the alleged criminal's lawyer, that, okay, take a smaller punishment, take a smaller, agree to a smaller crime, don't do a trial, let's bargain. Instead of 10 years stay behind bars, 2 years, 3 years, 1 year probation, anklet, ghar pe arrest, pay fine, do whatever. Resolve the matter and go home. Unless it's a big crime. Even murders in United States, the alleged criminals can plea bargain instead of death penalty. They can agree to life imprisonment. So if India is not going to allow plea bargaining, then these 7.5 million cases, criminal matters, on it and being added, the number increasing on a daily basis, we will never resolve it. And why there is no plea bargaining? Maybe there is no trust. Maybe the judge doesn't trust that the prosecuting attorney is being fair or the alleged criminal's attorney is being fair. But we need to fix that. We have retired IAS officers, retired police officers, retired civil servant agents. We have retired army officers throughout the country that retire at age 55, 57, 58, 60, and the government is paying them decent pension. I think the government can ask, these guys were willing to give their life for India. I think the government can ask the retired armed services to give 10 hours a week to resolving cases. The small criminal matters, they were defending the country. You think they can defend and settle a few criminal matters of shoplifting? They can handle the divorces. So there is several creative things. If I were given the charge to fix the system of any city or village, the first thing I would do is have a night court, have a mobile court, be open on weekends, push the people in court to mediation, to arbitration. I go to court in United States, and if the judge doesn't like the case or knows that the case is lousy and was filed because of revenge or anger or this or that, I've had judges say to the court reporter, "Hey, turn off the recording. I want to talk to Mr. Chugh privately." And the judge leans over and he says, I know you have a lousy case. I'm not going to give you my courtroom. Go outside and settle this case. I don't want to see you again. Right? And the judges in United States use their power and twist our arms. We settle 95% of our cases.
Wow, that's a
Why
huge
would I
number.
shock you by telling you that California, for instance, has a law that says if the case is not adjudicated within 5 years, it shall be dismissed in favor of the defendant. Dismissed. No trial, no nothing. 5 years. You want to know how old is the oldest case in India? 1878. 140 years old. A
Wow.
case in Varanasi between two religious sects fighting over land. Why are they fighting 140 years later? Because our great grandparents were fighting, so we're going to continue to fight. Do you think anybody in India ever thought कि चलो एक छोटा सा लॉ बना देते हैं कि जब हमारी कंट्री ही नहीं थी 1947 तक, उसके पहले के सारे केसेस आर गॉन? Don't you think that's a fair law? How about having a 5 year law, 10-year law, 20-year law, 50-year law? No. 140-year-old case is still going on. What is the judge doing? Why doesn't he force the case to mediation or throw it out? Why doesn't any state government pass a law that a case over 10 years old needs to be resolved within the next 10 months, 6 months, 5 months, 3 months? No, nothing, right? And why is it that we have a country with 30 million pending cases and 1.3 billion population, 1.3 million lawyers, and we can't even have a full-time law minister? Our law minister is also the IT minister. So I think there are enough lawyers, and I'm sure Prime Minister Modi wants well for the country. But I think if we want well for the country, the first thing we have to do is fix the judicial system. And if you ask me, we should have 13,000 full-time law ministers, let alone just one.
Yeah. No, and I think that the numbers you've given me and the data you're sharing, is really shocking. And I'm sure the people who are listening, they're also shocked, equally shocked. And um, one of the things that happens is एक वो मैंने आपको पहले भी जैसे हमारी चैट में बात कर रहा था, वो सनी देओल का वो जो डायलॉग है, तारीख पे तारीख, तारीख पे तारीख, तारीख पे तारीख, बस वही मिलती है लोगों को. I think that is really sad that there could be cases which could have been handled, and you're very right, they might have been handled uh, very differently in a very short time, a conclusion, a decision deke. But so one of the things that are coming up, like, and I'm going to start taking some questions as well. Jaise aap dekh rahe hain, oh, I see a big as well, so let me just get him in. All right, so Bigya, hopefully this time around we can hear you and you can hear us.
I can hear, but just intermittently. The network is a little bit weak because I'm on the mobile network right now. So
Oh,
that will
okay,
create
okay.
a bit of problem.
All right.
Anyways, I can
हाँ, तो आपसे वही, what we were getting from Navneet ji was basically, the system is definitely slow, and it takes time, and some of the insights he was comparing, right, कि US में कैसे होता है, and why it is. Okay, it looks like we lost him again. All right, so big here. Looks like tonight it's gonna be Navneet. So we are okay. I see you back again. Can you hear us?
Abhikya, file a lawsuit
Yes, I
against your
can.
telecommunications company. Don't put up with it, man. This chalta hai attitude can't fix India.
I know.
Sir, चलता
I
attitude मेरा नहीं होता कभी भी. I take the people at task
right.
already.
Yeah. No, internet ka, I think that is what the problem is. I remember 5 years back when I was in
This is the
India.
first time this has happened. Otherwise, it generally doesn't happen. It is
It
the
is
first
very
time it has
good.
happened today.
It is very good for Abhigya.
Varun,
Normally doesn't happen. Yeah.
mm,
So Abhigya, so the question is basically, we were just talking about this, the slowness, and I think you've answered it multiple times. But he was just mentioning 140-year-old case, and इतने पुराने cases or US का, the one of the things he mentioned was any case that goes beyond 5 year, that is the case is kind of finished within 5 years. Let me just put it this way. जबकि इंडिया में सालों साल चल सकता है. But at the same time, what is your personal take? I mean, from your personal experience, वहाँ पर, I'm sure you definitely see some goodness in the judicial system. So we like to kind of highlight the goodness in the Indian judicial system as well. हर चीज ही बुरी नहीं होती, हर चीज गलत नहीं होती, but I'm sure there are few things which are really good and happening, which maybe are things better than any other country. You want to share anything on that? Yeah, big. Doesn't look like we can hear you.
between these two kind of countries, I think that is the. Mm, still can't hear
Yeah,
me?
we no, we cannot hear you. We cannot hear you. If you can see us, maybe you'll have to connect again. All right. Why don't you disconnect? Yeah. All right. So Navneet, let me just start taking some of these questions which have come up. We all, as I was talking about the Sushant Singh Rajput case, right? I mean, I don't know how much you are aware of, what's happening and what has happened, but on a very generic level, if I have to ask a question, it's been 6 months and no custodial interrogation has happened yet. How do you perceive or how do you see this?
Well, so uh, here's a bigger issue, Varun. And the bigger issue is that um, if you look at several countries around the planet, and US is probably one of the best examples, we have and because the United States is a very large country, if you Russia and Canada have more land, but half of or 75% of Russia's land and Canada's land, nobody can live there. 80% of Canada's 40 million people live within 100 miles of the US border. So from a habitability point of view, US has more land than any other country. And people sometimes it's kind of difficult to remember that US is the third most populous nation in the world, and after China and India, it's United States. And so such a large country, bordered by two oceans, the two largest oceans of United States are on either side of US. And one way to govern such a big country, what happened with the United States Constitution in 1776 when US got independence is that the 13 colonies, George Washington wanted the 13 colonies to become a nation, and the 13 colonies were hesitant that no, we don't want another country. We left UK, we had so many problems with the government. We're living in our big, huge farms, we have our guns, and we don't need a country. And Washington reminded them that England is going to attack and try to take over the country again, which England did in 1812. So Washington was able to convince the 13 colonies to become a nation for defense purposes and monetary policy purposes. But to bribe the 13 colonies to become a nation, Washington had to give away all the powers to the states, which turned out to be a massively wonderful thing for United States. So if you look at the US Constitution, it's one of the thinnest constitutions in the world, and India is the largest written constitution. The US Constitution basically is two sentences. The United States has the power for defense, monetary policy, and fighting between the states. The rest of the power is given to the states. And the states in return gave the powers to the districts or the counties, as they're called in the United States. and the counties gave the power to the cities. So there's 19,500 some cities in the United States. And if you think about why US how US is run, the power is actually with the mayors and executive directors or managers of the cities. So between the mayor and the city manager, the two people run the city. And so water, power, electricity, schools, roads, everyday living is with these. The power has been decentralized down to the city. So when I travel through India, I always like asking people, hey, who's the mayor of your city? And nobody knows. So everybody, and if I land in India, I get into a taxi, within 5 minutes I will hear the word government from the taxi driver. I could live in the United States and take 10,000 taxis and I'll never hear the word government from a taxi driver. In India, unfortunately, in 1947, because India was princely states and not a country, Nehru and company had to consolidate power and show to all of India that, hey, we have power in Delhi, and the power had to be centralized. And so that over a period of time, instead of slowly giving powers to the states, the power was kept in Delhi and consolidated even more. One of the reasons why in United States, for instance, the 50 states have a state Supreme Court, and India, there's one Supreme Court with 36,000 pending cases. The number of cases pending in front of the United States Supreme Court is less than 50. And so 36,000 pending Supreme Court cases, why can't the government allow power to be decentralized? We have 1.3 billion people. You think it's about time we allowed every state to have its own Supreme Court so that the national Supreme Court only hears some very specialized matters? So, because of the Rajput matter, if you think about it, the prosecution power, the autopsy power, the charging criminals power in a majority of the countries is decentralized and given to the local city, the local town, and the local states and counties and districts. And so things move. One of the reasons they don't move in India is because power is so centralized and CBI gets involved in small matters. Why is the CBI involved? Why isn't the local city of Mumbai charging or investigating? Till we give powers to the people living on the street, the problems of India will continue.
All right. I'm gonna let Bhigya as well. I don't know how Bhigya आपने कितना सुना है, and if you have any additional comments to what Navneet ji was saying. You are mute. You are mute. Okay, now you're unmute.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Whatever I've heard from Mr. Navneet, to a large extent, I don't very much agree with him. And that has also been in the past also, where our thoughts have never gone together. But I just want to say, first of all, that I want to ask him what does he means by pendency? What is the definition of pendency in his eyes?
Sorry? I didn't hear him. What did he say?
So he's asking you a question. What is pendency?
What do you mean by the pendency?
According to my research, there are 30 million pending cases in India.
Yeah.
Is that information not correct?
Okay, looks like again we're not able to hear you.
That's what I want to know. What do you mean by the pending cases? I'm
Well,
asking you what do you mean
I am
cases in your eyes?
Googling
You are
it, and
saying
it says over 3.5
everybody
crore
says that
cases pending, courts in India waiting for justice, 27 million pending cases?
in India, and there's much less pendency in other countries.
How many cases are pending according to you? I'd be very happy if the number of cases pending is less, but I've read reports that it'll take 500 years to clear the backlog.
Okay, I think
It's
we lost him
and it,
again.
yeah.
Okay, we'll wait for him to come back. I will take a couple of questions as well, since I want to be mindful of the time. And I will start taking, I see a couple of them on the stream, and I'll take them as well. But guys, as you know the rule, I will only be able to take you to the stream if you have your cameras on. I won't be able to take you if your cameras are not on. All right, looks like a big is back.
What are the questions?
Yeah. So one of the questions that oh, the questions are flying now. Oh, well, give me 1 second. So media coverage should be deployed.
I think there's a lot of problem with the net, so that's why
Yes, I think.
I'm not able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion by Raman Arora that we should deploy retired judges. And so, what's happening in other countries, Varun and Abhigya, as you know, is that retired judges are joining mediation companies and charging a lot of money as they deserve to be paid a lot of money because they have worked very hard all their life. So the retired judges in United States, for instance, charge anywhere between $2,500 per day to $25,000 per day to do mediation. And every week we mediate a case with a retired judge. Average payment is about between five to $10,000 per day, split between the plaintiff and defendant. And within 7 8 hours, we're able to resolve of all the mediations, maybe about 500 that I've done, over 90% we were able to resolve in 1 day. Even though some mediations, the plaintiff wanted $10 million in the morning and the defendant was willing to give 50,000, somehow or the other, these retired judges, they've gotten so good, they're able to resolve. Then there's these wonderful mediation companies throughout the world that employ hundreds and thousands of retired judges. I hope somebody who wants to make a lot of money in India would start these mediation companies, and they can make truckloads of money. All they have to do, they don't even have to be a lawyer, they just have to be a business person. I know there's 1 million people in India looking for a startup idea. So here's my idea to these young people looking for startup ideas. Hire, do this on app, do this with technology, go to all the retired judges, have them employ them as mediators, and build trust. Only have one rule: you will never do anything with dishonesty. There will be complete trust, complete honesty. There'll be no cheating. So that trust gets built in the mediation companies. So there are wonderful mediation companies in US like AAA and JAMS and ADR and Judicate West. The reason I'm giving these names is that if there's people in India that want to do these startups, they can look at the websites of these companies. And the saddest part about one of the sad part about the legal system in India is I'll review these agreements between companies in India, and there's a clause that jurisdiction and how the if there is a dispute, where will it be decided? In majority of the big agreements between the big rich or big companies of India, the jurisdiction is in Singapore, that the matter will be decided in Singapore. So
Oh,
lawyers fly from India to Singapore, pay money to Singaporean companies, Singaporean mediation companies, Singaporean judges to decide on Indian law matters. That's how little trust there is in the Indian legal system.
all right. I'm gonna take more questions, but let's see if Abhigya heard it and if he has any kind of comments. Abhigya, you did not hear. Okay.
Olami Goswami says, Navneet, did you try to push these ideas to the Indian Council? This is why I said half an hour ago that Jane Fonda used to say that we should live our life on a daily basis in a revolution mode. And it's not just me pushing this to the Indian Council. Every single lawyer, 1.3 million lawyers in India, we should not tolerate nonsense. We should not tolerate delay. We should not tolerate injustice. We should not tolerate 600,000 fake lawyers because they give our profession a bad name. And we posted 100 ideas on how to resolve the 30 million pending cases on the website of Indian Lawyers Association. We posted ILA declares a judicial emergency, and every single idea we have on how we can resolve these cases, we have posted it there, and we welcome the advice of other lawyers so we can add more ideas. We wish there were 1,000 ideas. So I implore and request Ms. Goswami to make noise, live her life in a revolution mode, get together, post on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, continue to make noise. Let's do a million lawyer march one day in India to fix the judicial system. Varun, the reason I make all this noise is very simple. The average per capita income of the 8 billion people in the world should be $17,000 per year, because the world economy is 100 trillion. If you divide that by 8 billion, average per person's income should be 17,000. Indians income is 12 $2 or $3,000, so we're short 15,000 $15,000. And the reasons, we can sit here for the next 10 years and decide and discuss why we're behind in per capita income. And if you look at the 100 top reasons, the number one reason is because we don't have an adequate judicial system in India. We got our political freedom in 1947, our economic freedom in 1991. The next freedom, the next revolution of India must come from the lawyers. The lawyers are the angels God has put on earth to make sure that we create an equitable society. There is no wage theft. The poorest people are getting their legal rights, and we need to push for lawyers should be able to advertise so we can share information, share our rates. How is a poor person supposed to know what their legal rights is if we are not even allowed to advertise? How is a poor person supposed to hire a lawyer if lawyers can't take matters on a contingency basis? The fastest way to make a country rich is to make the poor people richer. The poor people can be made richer if the lawyers help them. And I implore all of the lawyers of India to fight, because we got freedom, but the 1.3 million lawyers are still in chains. We need freedom first so we can help the rest of the country.
No, that's a very good suggestion. There are a couple of more questions. This could be one of the last questions that I'll take, maybe, and I'll flash it if required. But I'll also take two guests I see who have the camera on. So again, guys, if you don't have a camera on, I'm sorry, I won't be able to take you. So I'll add those two. But a quick thing between FBI and CBI. What is the difference? And we have seen CBI also come under political pressure. Does that happen to FBI as well?
uh, Under some presidents, the FBI has been under pressure, but I think because the awareness level is so high in the country, and it's hard to have a democracy with not a 100% literacy rate. As the literacy rate of India goes up, and now 92% of 6-year-old children are finally in school. We never thought that would happen. And the literacy rate is inching up to 75%. But because of the language differences, the 75% literacy rate is actually not a 75% literacy rate. But slowly things will get better. But the problem is, this chalta hai attitude needs to go. We need to live in a revolution mode. Everything else will get straightened out. But if the lawyers are in chains in India, then God help India.
Great. All right. I see Noshir Ji. So Noshir Ji, welcome back. How are you?
Very well. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you, the showman Varun Kapoor and Varun Kapoor personally. And secondly, thank you very much, the respected Navneet Singh ji. Highly inspirational information, highly motivating information, and educative information. I must say that it's coming from the heart. And
Thank you.
moreover, I would like you to make a few points. You said about the mediating agency business entrepreneurship. How does it work, and how can we promulgate this type of companies hiring retired lawyers or judges?
Very simple. आप कल सुबेरे गवर्नर मीडिएशन सर्विसेज शुरू करो. With a name like that, you should be the most popular mediation company in India. Hire
Mhm.
retired IAS officers, IPS officers, IFS officers, and hire retired judges, and ask people to stop going to court. President Kennedy used to say, ask what not the government can do for you, but what you can do for the country. So, my suggestion to people that have these 30 million pending cases, stop going to court, stop burdening the court. You have chota mota jhagada, you had a fight with your brother and you filed a lawsuit. Please go to Governor Mediation Services. They have retired judges, pay them some money, sit with them, and resolve the matter.
So this would be like out of court arbitration.
Yes, mediation, arbitration is harder because you're asking a judge to make a ruling. So I don't know if our society is ready to take a ruling from Noshir governor. But mediation is, hey, Noshir, please agree to this. You owe Varun 100 रुपए, उसको 50 रुपए दे दो, क्यों लड़ रहे हो, झगड़ रहे हो? And Varun says, no, मेरे को 60 चाहिए. I go back to your room and say, hey, Noshir, 10 रुपए और दे दो. So both people agree.
And what are your contact points in India, and will they be more helpful in promoting or branching out your ideas into reality?
Um, I'm very happy to help. We've started Indian Lawyers Association in India. We have close to 100 chapters, and we have a chapter in Mumbai. So one of the ultimate long-term goals of ILA is also that we would like to do free mediation services for people, especially divorces and other smaller matters. And please get involved with ILA in Mumbai and form a committee, experiment, ask some lawyers to give 1 hour free per month. There's 1.3 million lawyers in India. If everybody gives 1 hour free per month to do mediation for poor people, that's 1.3 million hours. And we can add all of the judges' time in India. That probably doesn't add up to 1.3 million hours. And collectively, we can move mountains if we want to.
It's a really wonderful and brilliant project and proposal. However, I am not vindicative about the lawyers or the legal system, but from what we are experiencing through certain original sources, there is legal mafia as well. Because for the Ram Mandir case, they prolonged it and stretched it too far. Till this last hearing of the Supreme Court, they went to this such a great extent that they proved the birth of Ram and the birthplace of Ram and the Ram Setu as a fake ideology. So I'm just bringing it to your respected self, and I appreciate your great, brilliant, bright idea and proposal to bring down the pendency of the cases. And I would look forward to ask my uh, next of kin or my relatives who would want to invest in this type of proposal. And if you can share your contact point details in India, it will be highly appreciated, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Noshirji. Thank you very much.
All right. Uh, I'll take you, Varun, 1 second. Shashiji, please go ahead. You have a point or a question.
Hi, good morning, good evening. So on the SSR case, means I believe that yeah, in the earlier days there was so much of media coverage that I think many crucial evidences were being discussed in public, which might have hampered the investigation being done by CBI or even I don't know maybe Mumbai police before that. Because of which was there a conscious decision taken by these investigation agencies to maybe stop the media coverage so that yeah they could get on and then see where and means from what I hear they have done very good progress after this media coverage is stopped. So yeah, means what are your thoughts on that, Navneet ji?
Um, so I think we trust CBI, and I think we trust the Mumbai police, and I think they're wonderful people doing things good for Indian humanity. And I think we should let them do whatever they're doing, and I'm sure they will come up with something decent. But I'm not in favor of that. There should be no media coverage. There should be media coverage of everything. We live in the biggest democracy in the world. If there is just truthfulness, what is there to hide, right? And so let every single person of India is entitled to full information. Nothing should be hidden. And if it's a legal matter that will ultimately end up in court one day, then of course the government has a legal right to only share information that the public needs to know. If it's going to become a case, then it needs to be handled in a legal manner. Um, but I think the most important thing from the Rajput matter is what's good for the Indian society. What's good for the Indian society is, why are suicides happening? First of all, we need to rule out that there was no crime. Because if was a crime, that crime person who committed the crime needs to be punished very strongly. But if there was no crime and it was a suicide, then that says that we are not providing a very good healthcare system or support system. If somebody rich and famous can go through so much trouble, then what is happening with the poor of India? Then where are the poor getting medical treatment, right? I have read stories that depression is amongst one of the highest in India of any country in the world. And we, India has produced 150,000 doctors and shipped them to the United States. The India gave them birth, India raised them, India gave them medicine, India put them through school for free, India put them through medical school for free, and the day they were supposed to contribute back to the Indian society, they ran away to United States. And the government of United States says, oh, an Indian engineer is coming to United States, we want to charge them $10,000 fee. Okay, charge them whatever fees you want. But my point is, why is the government of India letting these doctors and engineers leave India without first charging them $150,000 and asking them to reimburse every dollar that the government of India spent on their education? The point being, 150,000 Indian doctors exist in United States. That's 10% of the 1.5 million physicians in United States. So why is it that India, that has such surplus of physicians that we can supply it to the rest of the world, but we can't take care of our own people? What kind of society do we have that majority of Indians do not get a good healthcare coverage? So that's something we should address from the Rajput matter, right? Convert it from media publicity, convert it from Bollywood, from Bombay, from entertainment to the real issue here. Is the healthcare of the 1.3 billion Indians being taken care of by the government? And if the government is not taking care of it, let's find a new government.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Shashiji.
Yeah, partially I would say. Anyway, thanks for that, Navneet ji. Thanks. I would like to take
Sure.
your
Thanks,
leave now.
Shashiji. All right. Yes, Varun, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. You might have answered this in some way, but Still, I'll ask it. Why is it that even with the current legal system that we have, uh, why is it that a handful of people can get away with the system? For example, in the SSR case, we've seen people in and around the house tampering with the evidence, doing all that, and but they get the chai coffee treatment. But on the other hand, we see people in the social media who just makes a tweet or just posts a video, and they are picked up like terrorists and put behind the bars. So, is it because the common man lacks the knowledge to exercise the legal system, or is it a loophole in the law itself?
Yeah, Byron. So that's a great point. But we talk about 30 million pending cases in India, and the oldest case is 140 years old. Uh, Several countries have these rules that a case must finish in 5 years. Netherlands, the minute you file a case, you get a trial within 90 days. Can you imagine? The average time it takes for a case in Netherlands to go to trial is 87 days. Um, Now, I am told that some courts in India are operating at less than 50% of their capacity. I am told that there is so much money the government has allocated budget for the legal system of India, and only half is utilized. So the budget of India was $180 million last year, and half of it was not even spent. Now, a country our size, it's reported that we should have 70,000 judges. We have 21,000 judges. So if you look at the overall system, there is no justice in India. So if there is no justice in India, then my best thing about life is I look at a chart of the 10 happiest countries on the planet. And then I look at the chart of the 10 richest countries in the planet. And I look at a chart of the top 10 judicial system efficiency countries in the planet. And would it surprise you that the 10 countries are the same? So, which tells me that if you Indians, 1.3 billion Indians, want to be happy, if the 1.3 billion Indians need to be richer than they are now, just our fair share. To get to our fair share, we need to be 5x richer. The biggest problem I have in life is that from the year one, we're into 2020 now, from year one to 1750, India was the richest country in the planet, right? For 1750 years, either India or China were number one or number two. So let's say India was number one for this conversation. Then the slide down started in 1750. So we had 25% of the world's GDP, world's wealth from the year 1 to 1750. 1750 onwards, the slide downward started. And the slide lasted till 1991. By the time we got to 1991, we only had 2.5% of the world's wealth, a 90% drop in 241 years. Fortunately, since 1991, this climb back up has started. And now, fortunately, we're 5 6% of the world's GDP, 17% of the world's population. And the good thing about Indians is that we're very nice people. We're so nice that we let the Britishers come in and say, okay, you want a cup of tea? Here's a cup of tea. Oh, you want to take a nap in the afternoon? Sure, take a nap in the afternoon. Oh, you want to sleep here? Okay, sleep tonight. Okay, you want to stay here a week, a month, or you want to stay in my house? Okay, I'll give you half. Okay, fine, I'll give you all of my house and I'll sleep outside, right? So we're the nicest people in the planet. And we don't want more than our fair share. From year 1 to 1750, we had 25% of the world's wealth. We also had 25% of the world's population. So in the year 1600, the world population is 600 million. Our population is 125 million. We're 25% of the world. We have 25% of the world's wealth. We're now 17% of the world's population. We want 17% of the world's wealth. And we need to get there. And I submit that we will only get there if we fix the legal system of India. If we fix the judiciary, if we fix the government, if we fix the power, take away some other power from Delhi and give it to the states need to give it to the districts need to give it to the cities need to give it to the people living on a street. That's how much power needs to be distributed for us to become a first world nation. We were the richest country in the planet. We need to get to top 10 at least, Paran. So help us.
Great point. Yes, Nashaji, you had a point, I think, for this. So please. You're mute. You're mute.
Yeah, things up. How do we encourage the government to introduce a healthy education system, and that would formulate and motivate such kind of literacy into the population of our country? Because in so many years, education has been neglected. That has led to ignorance of law.
Right. So, um, the first thing I would say we should fight for is to give the power of the education more power to states and more power to districts. Some of the cities and countries and states around the world, education is given to the neighborhood. So if you take a city like Mumbai, where you are, if Mumbai was in some other country, Mumbai would be cut up into 50 pieces, and each one of the 50 pieces of Mumbai would be given the education power. The jo karna hai kar lo. Educate your kids however you want. And then the parents of the people living in those 50 pieces would get together and form the education system. That's how distributed the education power should be. We know that in currently one third of the kids in school are in private schools now, which means that's a big slap on the face of the government that you have failed government. One third of the kids are no longer with you. Even parents who don't have a lot of money are spending a big, huge chunk of the money that they should not be spending on private schools. You know the reports that 25% of the teachers are missing in schools. You know the reports that as soon as girls hit puberty, they drop out of school because the schools don't have a bathroom. Um, and I know I read about this, uh, and the biggest statistic that concerns me is that a quarter of the fifth grade students in Indian schools, the government schools, are reading at second grade level. So somebody told me that there is a teacher in India uh, named Sangeeta Kashyap, and I have no idea. I'm sorry, I don't even know if the story is true or not. But even if the story is not true, it it's it's a symptom of what's going on in India. So somebody told me there's a teacher called Sangeeta Kashyap in India. She was a teacher for 24 years and she was absent for 23 of the 24 years. So education is, you rightly point out, Noshirji, is the most important thing that a government has to do along with infrastructure. And I would say that it's unreasonable for 1.3 billion Indians to look at New Delhi and say we will find our solution in New Delhi. That is not going to happen ever.
Just last 2 minutes. Yes, Nashaji. Okay, please.
Sorry. Thank you, Varunji. Things are, there is another probing to be done, which is related to the charges of reparation. UK has slapped charges of reparation on Germany for the World War and the destruction of the population, the wealth of UK. Can our country slap charges of reparation on UK and European countries, and to a certain community which has looted our wealth and killed our people with genocide and other things? Can such charges be levied or slapped on them?
नौशीर जी हो गई ना रेपरेशन मिल गया हमारे को जो चाहिए था the 100 richest houses in London, 75 of them are owned by Indians, Some of the richest people in United Kingdom are Indians. The mayor of London is family from South Asia, Apna Purana India, United India. And bacha kya hai ab England ka? They become smaller and smaller. And by the time we get to reparations, I don't know if that country is going to have any money left. But and again, let's stay responsible. Let's be 100% responsible for everything that happens in our life. Who let them in, by the way? Who let these Britishers in?
Yep.
Right? Where were the Indians? What were they doing? Where is the fighting? Why is it? And I love Gandhi ji, of course, but George Washington and company took guns and kicked out the Britishers in 10 years. And because of our way of dealing with life, we started the mutiny in 1857 and it took us 90 years. So maybe in hindsight, we should have been more violent or more aggressive, or I don't know what. But ho gaya jo hona tha. But now let's look at where we are now and let's fix our country and forget about reparations and looking to someone else to give money. We were rich before the British showed up. We can get rich again. We don't need anybody's help.
Got it. So I'm gonna have Amar, the last kind of question or last comment, whatever you want to make. We're already past 1 hour mark.
Yeah, very good morning, Varun. Very good morning, Navneet Singh. Sir, my question is to you because it's enough that we stop criticizing and do something for the betterment of this country. Because criticism is very easy to do. My question is, if I fire PIL for because sexual harassment cases and rape cases are increasing day by day in India, and if I fire PILI for like a 50 years punishment for the rape victims of this country, will if backed by live testimony and signature campaign will help my PIL?
Well, I'm glad you're doing all of that. It's so wonderful you're doing it. And the PILs is a way for the country to speak up and be in revolution mode. But I think you just need to pay attention to these sentences and all. So the court only has a power to put in sentences that the courts have been authorized to issue. So the court can't give a 20-year sentence if somebody steals a bread, right? So if you want tougher punishment, you're going to have to lobby with the state governments, and but keep up the noise, keep up the fight. Um, and I think the sexual violence against women in India, you have to look at it with 360-degree view. There are 36 things to do, including awareness, including policing, including community policing. And why is it that 5% of the judges in India are women? 50% of the population of India is women. The 50% of the judges should be women. If you appoint more judges, then these kinds of things get resolved. Why is it that 50% of the members of parliament are not women? Why is it that hundreds of thousands of politicians in India are themselves the criminals and have criminal charges? So, everything needs to be fixed. So carry on the noise. And instead of getting bogged down by one criminal getting 50 years, let's look at the larger issue.
No, I was talking about all the criminals. I was not talking about one criminal. And would signature campaign help in this?
And I know Indians don't like to hear when I say all these things, but the biggest criminals in my mind in India are the OBGYN physicians that are committing murders by uh, having the baby girls die in the wombs. And the parents who are getting this done, in my mind, those are the biggest criminals. What is going to happen to a society where the female to male ratio in India is now 937 to 1000? What is going to happen? Last week, I read a report that because of the pandemic, boys are having a harder time in school than girls are. Can you imagine that? Because boys have distractions, girls don't. So now we are a country where there's more boys and less girls. more boys who are distracted in school, which means more boys who are going to end up becoming not so very good workers for the economy when they grow up. We can't create a society where uh, parents are going for the sake of a boy. Where is the 75% literacy rate? Where is the crime people? Where is the police? Where are the judges? Why aren't female and male OBGYN doctors being sentenced to life if they're committing such crimes? If 100 of them are sentenced to life or given capital punishment, this will stop, right? This is
That's my
where it's
point.
starting. The girl is not even born, and look at what we are doing to the girl. What, now we're complaining about what's happening to the girls when they're becoming women. Look at where it's starting.
I just request all the Indians to file as many as PILs of the problem of India. But I was just starting because we had a wonderful session yesterday where some victims told their stories, and it was really shocking for us. And being in Delhi and in United States, both the countries, it's really shocking what has happened in capital of the. We are talking about the capital of the country right now. If you go to other states, that's like horrifying. So let us take one by one step. And I request all the Indians, come on, wake up. Life is for the betterment of this country. Do one good deed for the betterment of the country. My second one last question: can I file a PIL for a special department in looking at missing cases in India, because we have over 4 lakh cases missing every year, like including women and children and adults. Can that PIL make any sense? Just wanted to.
Yes, of course. I'll have the executive director of ILA, Madhura. She's an absolutely wonderful person. Get in touch with you. We will connect you to the 100 chapters we have in India right now, and we will have 400 chapters in the next 3 years. 400 cities with a population of over 1 lakh. We will have ILA chapter. We want every single ILA chapter in India to work with you and file these PILs for you and help you, and let's create a national campaign.
Wonderful.
You
Thank you.
can.
I guess you have given your number somewhere in the screen. I'm going to go back to the video and see that. Thank you
Sure.
very much. Whatever I can do when I'm in India, let me do whatever I can do. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Have a good day, Varun. I'm
You.
No,
out.
Very happy you're doing this. Proud of you.
this is really
Thank you.
good. This is and I'm really glad that all this is happening through this platform. Yes, Noshaji, I'll just wrap it up and then you can make your point. But Navneet, all I have to say right now before we end the session, of course, is this was an exceptional live show. I really appreciate everything you said and the offer that you've given, the kind of help you are offering to anybody and everybody. Of course, on the other side, I also would encourage people in US, especially in US, if they have any kind of legal issues and they want to get in touch with Navneet ji directly, the details are on the screen. But like I said, even if it is in India, you can still reach out to him. He will connect you with the right people in India, and they can guide you, they can coach you, mentor you, or even take up your cases, because it's they run a business, and there are a lot of advocates working for them in India chapter as well. So I encourage you to please make a note of that as well. But once again, thank you so much. Yes, Noshaji, what do you want to say? You're mute again.
Yeah, things up. In case the state policing system is found by the general public in their awareness that the state policing system is in nexus with the operating government or administration of the government and harassing the common people or the media people, can the central government not directly interfere in the provisioning administration of the state government, or can the president not take action, or can the policing system be transferred directly to the central government under the presidency?
Somebody, Noshirji, somebody once asked a very famous business person that if you become Prime Minister of India, what is the first thing you will do? And you know what he said? He said, I would commit suicide. That's how many problems there are facing a prime minister of India or the central government. So my only request to anybody who is listening is that for as long as we live, we do not utter the word central government. Central government can't do anything. Let's help them. Noshir governor, the street you're living on, all your neighbors, all your friends, the locality you're living in Mumbai, they need to take care of it. You need to take care of it. Your neighbors need to take care of it. Please don't look towards Delhi. We need to help them.
All right.
So how can we make it strong?
Don't tolerate anything. You and your friends, the democracy is for the people, by the people, of the people. There is no such thing as a central government. There is no such thing as a state government. The biggest lesson our politicians, our ministers, our state ministers, cabinet ministers, everybody needs to learn, and this is going to shock them if the politicians of India hear this next sentence I'm about to say. These Indian politicians need to listen to one sentence. They are our servants. We pay their salaries. Okay. That's how that message is missing.
Right. All right. So I had to definitely get Ramanji in before we ended this session. Ramanji, I don't know if you want to say a few words before you. I'm sure you are here with another beautiful poem. So Navneetji, Raman Arora is a regular face on my all my shows, all my things, because he comes up with very beautiful poems, some write-ups which really touch the heart related to some topics. And I am really, really privileged to have him as well. So Ramanji, ek baar fir se welcome.
वरुण नवनीत सर नमस्कार, नौशीर जी, वरुण जी, सबको नमस्कार करूंगा सबसे पहले तो। और नवनीत जी ने बहुत अच्छी डिस्कशन और बहुत अच्छी बात बताई हमारे को। हमारी मुझे जो लगता है सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है इंटर कोर्ट्स। हमारे पास कोर्ट्स नहीं है, हमारे पास इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, जजेस नहीं है, छुट्टियां बहुत लेते हैं। उसके अलावा भी बहुत सारी वकील, हमारे यहाँ के वकील हैं, वो डेट लेने में इंटरेस्ट होता है उनका, लिंगर ऑन करते हैं केसेस को, कुछ वो भी वजह है। एनीवेज ये मुद्दे तो चलते हैं ही। इसके साथ साथ एक चीज जो मैं सजेशन जो मैं लगता है कि देना चाहिए, वो ये कि क्यों ना रिटायर्ड जजेस को, जिनका एक्सपीरियंस भी बहुत ज्यादा है, जिनको रिटायर कर, हमको वो पेंडिंग केसेस जो 30-30 साल से 40-40 साल से पेंडिंग पड़े हैं, उनको अगर उनको दिया जाए, लोक अदालत बनाई जाए, तो मुझे लगता है कि ज्यादा अच्छा काम हो सकता है। व्हाट डू यू से नवनीत सर?
बहुत अच्छे काम हो सकते हैं। और हमने अपनी ILA वेबसाइट पे एक आर्टिकल छापा हुआ है with 92 things the government we can do, the us people can do, lawyers can do to fix the 30 million pending cases. What can be done? And one of them is जो आप suggest कर रहे हो कि retired judges. We've gone further. Retired army officers, retired armed services, retired IAS officers, anybody anybody who's retired can either do it for free, or you can start companies that make money. So the retired judges in America actually make 2, 3, 4, 10 times as much money as sitting judges. So as a community, we need to come together. I think as a society, Indian society, we should ask for mobile courts to go in places jahan pe court nahi hai. We should ask for night courts. We should ask for 24-hour courts. We should stop this judicial system being shut down in the month of August. We should ask for courts on weekends. We should ask for judges. We should pass, first of all, we need to pass a law that a case must be adjudicated within a few years. In 70 some years of independence, we haven't even come across made a law that a case pending in India prior to the formation of India will not be taken into account. If we did that, I'm also told that of the 30 million pending cases in India, several 100,000, either the plaintiff or defendant is dead, but the government doesn't know about it, and the lawyers haven't filed a petition to withdraw. The other thing Indian judges don't do is they don't penalize lawyers for bad behavior, for delaying matters. The other thing the Indian judiciary system doesn't do is end a case rapidly. They like to continue it because the courts are so busy, they're left with nothing else but to say that, okay, we'll hear you in 6 months. So half of the day goes in just delaying matters.
Wow.
It is, in fact, it is. Yes, no doubt. I have seen, practically in courts that there are so many cases pending. They are even advocates are interested to linger on the cases. That is a very big issue. They linger on the cases due to the reason that they want to charge money every time client comes or visits to them. That's why they linger on the cases. They keep on lingering on for years and years and years. That is a hard fact. That is what we have observed. और
That's why I'm
सबसे बड़ी
saying that
बात
the
है
judges need to
कि
be tougher.
बिकता है यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ.
Yeah, the judges need to be tougher. Most
It
countries,
is,
you
in
can't
fact.
ask for an extension. A date is set, a date is set. You don't show up, you lose. No extensions.
So I need to draw your attention towards one more thing. शाम को वकील और जज क्लब्स में बैठ करके चीयर्स कर रहे होते हैं. ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा इशू है और बहुत सारी चीजें वहां सेटल होती हैं. That is what I have seen in my life. ये
Right.
सच्चाई है सर. That
बिल्कुल
must
होगी.
not be, I'm not sure about US and other countries,
Well,
but in India it happens.
we
It's a
meet with
hard
judges
fact.
often. We have a huge respect for judges, huge. We are very careful around judges. We might attend a party with them, a legal conference where they spoke. After they speak, we go meet them. All judges are approachable. But if we even uttered a word of bribe or favor, we would be in prison within a few minutes, even if it is an evening time.
So that is something which you are telling about US. But what I would say, no one utters a single word, about bribe here even. But they are advanced enough to understand how to offer the bribe and how to get the bribe. Everything happens in, इशारों में सब समझता है, हो जाता है, सब हो जाता है
So,
सर.
Ramanji, the issue is,
ये एक सच्चाई है.
Ramanji, the issue is that the government has to believe that human beings need to, if we are a society with 1.3 billion people, we obviously need to follow laws. And 10% of the people or 1% of the people, like 0.7% of United States population is behind bars. And there were times when 1% of the population was behind bars, right? US and China have the highest incarceration rate. So let's assume that in a society of 1.3 billion people, 130 crores, 1% has to be behind bars, or 1% at any given point of time is not doing something proper, right? So we need to set up a society where we keep an eye, we keep a watch, and we monitor, right? And so we set up police, we set up judges, we set up judicial systems, we set up district attorneys, and we set up this system to watch. But we can't forget that we also need to set up a system to watch the police, watch the judges, watch the district attorneys, watch the lawyers, right? So where is that policing agency? Why is it that the lawyers and judges are getting away? I have no idea if there's any bribes or not. But if there is, why is that they're getting away with it? Right? What is this ishara? What is this going on? Which tells me that we as a society need to make noise to set up agencies that police the police.
Right.
Sorry to say, but very easy to speak up like this. But how long you have been in US? It's a question to you.
20 years in Nagpur, India,
आप
and
कितने
39
समय
in
से
California.
US में हैं?
39.
आप 39 ईयर्स से वहां पे हैं सर। आज जो सिचुएशन है, आपको इतना तो मालूम हुआ कि अगर एक शब्द बोलते हैं तो उठा के ले जाते हैं 1 मिनट में,
वह
उठा
एक
के ले
जना
जाते हैं सर।
बोलेगा तो उठा के ले
गवर्नमेंट,
जाएंगे, पर
स्टेट
अगर
गवर्नमेंट
एक
दूसरी स्टेट में जा करके,
वह ठीक है, अगर एक बंदा बोलेगा तो उठा के ले जाएंगे, पर अगर 130 करोड़ लोग बोलेंगे तो कोई किसी को नहीं उठा के ले जा सकता। हमारी कंट्री है, ये जो लोग उठा के लेके जा रहे हैं ये हमारे नौकर हैं, हमारे सर्वेंट्स हैं।
जी, इसमें कोई शक नहीं है, बिल्कुल सच्चाई है। पर सर यहाँ आप एक हवलदार को चौक के ऊपर अपने पूरे कागज होने के बावजूद भी चालान काटने से नहीं बचा सकते या रिश्वत लेने से नहीं बचा सकते। ये एक सिचुएशन है, हम लोग इसको रोज फेस करते हैं सर, ये एक सिचुएशन है। तो ये तो फिर बड़े बड़े लोग हैं, इनका तो क्या बिगाड़ लेंगे हम।
धीरे धीरे करके सब कुछ सीधा करना पड़ेगा। आप मेरे से पूछ रहे हैं कि 30 कितने साल से आप इंडिया छोड़ के गए। जब मैं छोड़ के गया था उस दिन भी यही हाल था जो आज हाल है।
Right.
But
All right.
Ramanji, the reality is that millimeter by millimeter every day India is getting better. Okay. मेरे को याद है मैं
सर बहुत बड़ा देश है,
1990
मिलीमीटर के हिसाब से चलेंगे, किलोमीटर नहीं तय कर पाएंगे।
कोई नहीं
जी
सर,
जी
समथिंग
जी,
इज बेटर,
आप
राइट?
बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि आप बहुत टाइम से यूएस में हैं अब। जी, जैसे आप बहुत टाइम से यूएस में हैं तो आप बहुत अच्छे से वहां पे कानून जानते हैं, सब चीजों को आप समझते हैं। वहां के पर्सपेक्टिव से अगर आप इंडिया को देख रहे हैं तो मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ पे सर आपको एक छोटा सा इंसिडेंट मैं बता देता हूँ, अगर आप इजाजत दें। सर एक इंसान को मैंने देखा है जिसने एक ब्रेड चुराई थी या छीन के उठा करके ले जा रहा था, क्योंकि उसका बेटा भूखा था, उसकी बीवी एक्सपायर हो गई थी, बहुत गरीब घर से था। मैंने देखा था उसको, उसको मैंने कोर्ट में देखा था। कोर्ट में उसकी बेल देने वाला कोई नहीं था सर, वो 6 महीने से अंदर था। सर ये हमारे हिंदुस्तान की सर ट्रेजेडी मान लो या जो मर्जी मान लो, ये भी होता है यहाँ पे। इसीलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि प्रैक्टिकली कुछ और है यहाँ पे और थ्योरेटिकली थोड़ा सा अलग है।
सो रमन जी, मंदिर के लिए तो बहुत पैसा है इंडिया में, पर गरीबों को ब्रेड देने के लिए पैसा नहीं है। मंदिरों में तो लाखों डॉलर की, लाखों रुपए की ज्वेलरी और गोल्ड पड़ा हुआ है।
सच्चाई है सर ये।
क्या फायदा है उस मंदिर का अगर अगर लोगों को ब्रेड चुरानी पड़ रही है तो? वो मंदिर क्या मंदिर है अगर जो भूखे हैं उनको खाना फ्री में नहीं मिल सकता? क्या फायदा है वो गोल्ड का? ये बात
जायज
रमन
जायज
जी,
बात है सर, बिल्कुल जायज बात है।
किसी दिन इंडियन मंदिरों को
चलिए
समझानी पड़ेगी कि मंदिर का मतलब होता है कम्युनिटी का, लोगों का ख्याल रखना। रिलीजियस पूजा करनी सिर्फ वो नहीं होती है, जो गरीब हैं उनकी हेल्प करना, उनको खाना पहुंचाना। अगर कोई गरीब बच्चा है उसके पास पैसे नहीं है स्कूल के लिए, उसको स्कूल के पैसे देने, उसको स्कूल की ड्रेस खरीद के देनी। किसी को जॉब नहीं है तो उसको पैसे देने। किसी को मेडिकल केयर की जरूरत है तो मेडिकल हॉस्पिटल्स बनाना। मंदिर बनाने के बदले भगवान के नाम पे हॉस्पिटल्स बनाओ। बहुत मंदिर है इंडिया में।
ऑलराइट, सो रमन जी, आई थिंक अगर आप कुछ आज लिख के लाए हैं, जो कि मेरे को लगता तो है कि आप लाए होंगे, एनीथिंग यू वांट टू
जी
से अराउंड दिस?
जी 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 जी, मैं एक कविता अपने हिंदुस्तान के लिए डेडिकेट करूंगा।
बिल्कुल।
तो एक सेकंड मुझे निकालना होगा उसको। ऑलराइट सर, ये मेरे देश की कहानी है तो थोड़ा सा बताऊंगा। बिकते हैं जवाब, बिकते हैं सवाल, बिकते हैं जवाब, बिकते हैं यहाँ तो बड़े बड़े जनाब बिकते हैं। सच्चाई बिकती है, झूठ बिकते हैं, नींद बिकती है, ख्वाब बिकते हैं, भूख बिकती है, प्यास बिकती है, उम्मीद बिकती है, आस बिकती है। दुकान बिकती है, बाजार बिकते हैं, संतरी बिकता है, थानेदार बिकते हैं, वकील बिकते हैं, जज बिकते हैं, बुरा न मानना, लगभग सब बिकते हैं, सब नहीं लगभग। वकील बिकते हैं, जज बिकते हैं, बुरा न मानती है, जमींदार बिकते हैं, आतंकवाद बिकता है, हथियार बिकते हैं। भविष्य बिकता है, वर्तमान बिकता है, जानवर बिकता है, इंसान बिकता है, पानी बिकता है, आसमान बिकता है, चांद बिकता है, जहान बिकता है, शरीर बिकता है, चेहरा बिकता है, दूल्हा बिकता है, सेहरा बिकता है। तुम बिकते हो, हम भी बिकते हैं, थोड़ा ज्यादा या कम बिकते हैं। ये भी बिकता है, वो भी बिकता है, पता नहीं सब क्यों बिकता है। थोड़ा सुकून ढूंढता हूँ, मेरा सवाल है, थोड़ा सुकून ढूंढता हूँ, कहीं बिकाऊ हो तो बताओ। थोड़ा सुकून ढूंढता हूँ, कहीं बिकाऊ हो तो बताओ। थोड़ी हंसी, थोड़ी खुशी, कहीं बिकती हो तो लाओ। बिछड़ गए कुछ लोग, वापस लाना है। बिछड़ गए कुछ लोग, वापस लाना है। सांसें कहाँ बिकती हैं, वो भी बताना है। बिछड़ गए कुछ लोग, वापस लाना है। सांसें कहीं बिकती हो तो वो भी बताना है। एक बचपन ढूंढ रहा हूँ, एक बचपन ढूंढ रहा हूँ, किस दुकान में बिकाऊ है। एक बचपन ढूंढ रहा हूँ, किस दुकान में बिकाऊ है। बचपन बिना जिंदगी नीरस है, उबाऊ है। दुकानदार जी, तुम्हारे पास वो नहीं जो मुझे चाहिए। दुकानदार जी, तुम्हारे पास वो नहीं जो मुझे चाहिए। ताला तो होगा ना, लगाइए घर जाइए, लगाइए घर जाइए।
बहुत अच्छा रमन जी, बहुत बहुत अच्छा। So Varun, I have a poem in return.
सर
Okay. Wow.
हाँ,
मैं
so मेरा रिस्पॉन्स रमन जी ये है कि हम हजारों साल सबसे अमीर थे। भगवान के घर में देर है अंधेर नहीं। अब ये नजदीकी की बात है कि हम फिर से सबसे खुश होंगे। थैंक यू।
बहुत खूब, बहुत खूब जी। उम्मीदों पे दुनिया कायम है। वैसे एक एक मैं सर आपसे इतना, आपसे बात में वैसे ज्यादा बात लोगों पैनल में होता नहीं हूँ। आपके साथ कुछ क्वेश्चंस अपनापन है तो मैं आपसे बात करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। कुछ सवाल भी हैं जो आपसे कर रहा हूँ मैं। पैनल में आकर के मैं 2-4 मिनट में कविता सुना के चला जाता हूँ। आज आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, उसके रीजंस हैं। पहला रीजन ये कि एक आपकी बातों में जो अपनापन है वो नॉर्मली मुझे अच्छा पहली बार ऐसा लगा कि जिससे मैं बात कर सकता हूँ दिल से। तो दिल से बात कर रहा हूँ मैं आपसे। अगर आपको किसी बात का बुरा लगा हो तो प्लीज माफ कीजिएगा। आप बहुत एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं, बहुत इंटेलिजेंट हैं, आपका काम बहुत शानदार है। तो अगर मुझसे कोई गलती हुई है तो माफ कीजिएगा। और दूसरी चीज मैं जो आपसे ये कहना चाह रहा हूँ सर, यहाँ पे जिंदगी में इतने उतार चढ़ाव देख लिए हम लोगों ने। हम लोगों की कोर्ट में चक्कर लगाते लगाते ना सर, मैं आपको एक छोटा सा इंसिडेंट अपना बताता हूँ सर। एक जमीन थी मेरी, मैंने खरीदी थी। आज 10 की एक फैक्ट्री लगाऊंगा कभी वहां पे। उस जमीन पे किसी बिल्डर की नजर पड़ गई सर। वो जमीन, वो उसने उसने नोटिस भिजवा दिया कि ये जमीन जो है ये इंस्पेक्शन नहीं करवा, गवर्नमेंट का नोटिस आया वो पर्टिकुलर। जबकि जब हमने जमीन खरीदी थी वो ठीक था, क्योंकि उसकी वहां पे हाई राइज बिल्डिंग बन रही थी और सामने एक बड़ा सा टुकड़ा अगर प्लॉट का हो तो वहां एक और हाई राइज बिल्डिंग बन सकती थी, वो मेरे पास था। वो उस प्रॉपर्टी के लिए उन्होंने मुझे कोर्ट में पिछले 10 साल से सर मैं धक्के खा रहा हूँ वहां पे। और उसके बावजूद मैं अपनी उस जगह पे अपना सपना पूरा नहीं कर पाया। तो फिर मैंने कहीं और जाकर के सपना पूरा किया अपना। और सच्चाई ये है कि हमारे यहाँ पे ऐसा होता है सर, हम लोगों के सपने टूटते हैं सर।
बिल्कुल टूटते हैं। जो अपना जस्टिस सिस्टम है, एक कहावत है कि डिलेड जस्टिस इज नो जस्टिस एट ऑल। अगर 20 साल 25 साल बाद जस्टिस हो रहा है तो उस जस्टिस का कोई फायदा ही नहीं है, वो जस्टिस है ही नहीं। सो आई थिंक सबको जागना पड़ेगा। एंड ये जो आप बोल रहे हो कि दिल से बात चल रही है, दिल से बात की है, ऐसे ही दिल से बात बहुत करनी पड़ेगी। सब लोगों को जागना पड़ेगा, रेवोल्यूशन में जीना पड़ेगा, रहना पड़ेगा, एंड ये जो चलता है एटीट्यूड ये खत्म करना पड़ेगा। धीरे धीरे ठीक हो रहा है सब कुछ, थोड़ा जल्दी हो इसमें अच्छा रहेगा, और इसीलिए लॉयर्स को बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले करना पड़ेगा।
All right. I think that's a very good message to end this session as well. But एक बार फिर से
जी
thank you so much,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
Navneet ji, for taking out this time. I know you said you can be here for hours and hours, but I think we'll keep it for a separate day and a different time. But at the same time, a couple of things that have really come out are really eye-opening, and I think जैसे कि नौशीर जी आपने भी you had really good questions, very very factual things that we can actually do. क्योंकि हम लोग प्रॉब्लम्स को बहुत डिस्कस करते हैं बट सोल्यूशन के बारे में बहुत कम बात करते हैं, तो दिस सेशन was pretty much around how and what can be done. It's not about what is the problem, it's about how we can fix these things. So again, I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Navneet ji, for this time. Raman ji, as usual, I'm not gonna thank you now because you're part of the family. आप ऐसे ही आते रहें, ऐसे ही हमें पोएम सुनाते रहे. Varun, Naushir ji, everybody, you're all part of the family and many more. I see. लगता है थोड़ा सा कंपटीशन हो रहा है, अब मुझे भी कोई पोएम्स वगैरह लिखनी पड़ेंगी क्योंकि अब सब लोग पोएम्स लिखते हैं, पोएम्स बताते हैं. बट on a lighter note, because बहुत सारी tensions हैं, बहुत सारी परेशानियां, guys, please stay together, stay safe. कोविड भी बहुत ज्यादा फैल रहा है, स्पेशली इंडिया में मैं नंबर्स देख रहा हूँ, हालांकि वहाँ मोर्टेलिटी रेट इज लो, बट यूएस में बहुत ज्यादा बुरा हाल है. तो अगेन विद दिस सेशन एज वेल, even though this was Date with Advocate, but the common thing is we all have to take precautions, guys. Please take it very seriously. COVID is no joke. I read a post a few hours back of somebody who I know who's witnessing those symptoms in LA, and I'm going to call her tomorrow. But uh, and the kind of symptoms she's telling, it's really scary. So please take COVID very seriously. Please take all the precautions. अभी शायद shelter in place फिर से शुरू होगा and on a very high level. So I encourage you, I please urge you to not go out and about, if not required. Please maintain all the physical distancing. This is really critical right now. अगर हम वैक्सीन के ऊपर जो इतना डिपेंड कर रहे हैं, it will take time. Please trust me on that, and this is coming from some of the doctors I've spoken. Please, that vaccine is not a magic pill. ये सोच के कि वैक्सीन आ जाएंगी और आपको एक डोज मिलेगा and you'll be like 100% cured या नहीं होगा. Please don't think about that. Think about it कि चलो, there will be some prevention, but please take all the precautions. On that note, once again, thank you everyone. And Navneet ji, any other comment you want to leave us with before I end this session?
Yes, Varun, thank you for doing a great job. Thank you for connecting us. Thank you for discussing these important issues. And thank you for standing for justice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. And I will get to see you very soon again. We'll plan something on a more detailed manner. And take care, guys. Good night and good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. I'll see you soon. Jai.
Thank you, Arun.
Take care,
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.